Hello, everyone. He was the leader of a bandit group, had the loud nickname Iron Warrior, was the star of Joe Weider in the 80s of the last century, played at 5 Mr. Olympia tournaments where he was always in the top 6. Few bodybuilders who have left the competitive scene are as beloved by the public as Mike Christian. While most athletes who end their careers lose their physical fitness over time, the 70-year-old Christian's form still commands respect wherever he appears. Mike is still training. He is often invited to seminars and exhibitions. He has his own clothing factory. Mike Christian's athletic career at first looked like a straight line pulled up steeply. But then there was a glitch. Mike is addicted to pharmaceuticals. He only got out in the early 90s. And if you look at the biography of this man, you can see that his fate was very difficult. But let's talk about everything in order. Mike Christian's childhood and early years are very typical for many guys of that time. The future bodybuilding star was born on December 5, 1955 in Cleveland, Ohio. His family was very poor, and besides Mike, his parents raised 2 more children. Unfortunately, when the boy was only 9 years old, his mother died of cancer, and then his father took over all the responsibilities of raising children. He worked almost around the clock, but there was still absolutely not enough money, and there was simply no time to keep an eye on the children. So he decides to move to sunny California, where it's much warmer and where he thought it would be easier to make a living. It was his father's idea that nearly killed Mike. The young man, who was brought up on the streets of Los Angeles in the 70s, very quickly absorbed all its qualities and came into close contact with crime. As a teenager, he clearly understood one harsh truth: the stronger you are, the easier it will be for you to survive. The future champion begins to train hard, drawing inspiration from the pages of popular bodybuilding sports magazines, inspired by the examples of athletes from the golden era. Very soon, Christian becomes the leader of one of the teenage gangs in Los Angeles. This status imposes certain obligations. In order to dominate his players, he delves into the sport more and more. A father watches his child's criminal career in the criminal world and cannot stand his son's infatuation. He decides to leave Los Angeles and move to a small town in Oregon. As it turned out, the elder Christian made a wise decision, as sooner or later everything would have ended in tragedy. In a new city, Mike immediately starts looking for a gym, as he is already used to training. At the age of 20, going to the gym in Oregon, the guy already has an excellent body. He is immediately noticed by Charles Amato, who trained at the same club. Charles was a competitive bodybuilder at the time. He invited young Christian to take part in a bodybuilding contest held in Portland. However, after learning the details of the competition, namely the need to perform in underwear, oiled, posing in front of a large audience, the obstinate and arrogant Mike took such an invitation as a personal insult. It took Amato about a month to convince the guy to overcome his disgust and become a participant in the competition. So in 1976, as a junior, Mike went to his first bodybuilding competition in Portland and easily became the first. From that moment on, Christian begins to look at bodybuilding in a different way. For him, this sport becomes a kind of gang streets, where you need to be the strongest in order to be respected. After a while, he even comes up with a nickname for himself, which already speaks to the unshakable character of his owner, the Iron Warrior. For 3 years, Christian has been devoting all his time to hard training, and in 1979, he became the 3rd in the Pacific West tournament. A little later, at the Mr. America Junior competition, he wins the bronze medal. With his considerable height of 185 centimeters, Mike Christian put 103 kilograms of weight on stage. At the same time, it looked very massive and proportionate. In 1981, Christian realizes that it's time to move to a new level, and together with his girlfriend Marla, moves back to Los Angeles, where there are much more opportunities for development than in Oregon. A year later, in 1982, he took part in the Nationals tournament, where he became 5th in the heavyweight division. The only real bodybuilding titans above him are Bob Paris, Tim Belknap, Matt Mendenhall, and the great Lee Haney. Success gives Mike even more enthusiasm. He understands that he can beat anyone, and he hits training with renewed vigor. On November 5, 1983, in San Jose, he entered the stage of the Nationals tournament and took the bronze. Progress is evident. Then Rory Lytlemeyer became the second, while Bob Paris took the lead. Mike's dream is coming true next year. He wins the 1984 Barry DeMay Amateur World Championship. He gets a professional card and finally wins gold at our Nationals 1984. Then, already at the rank of a pro, he arrives at the Night of Champions and in a hard fight becomes the fourth in the company of such bodybuilding stars as Albert Beckles, Rich Gaspari, Bob Birdsong, and Robbie Robinson. Well, then he will have a tournament that every bodybuilder on planet Earth dreams of, Olympia. On October 26, 1985, in Brussels, the audacious debutante immediately entered the top 5 of the competition, second only to Muhammad Makawi, Rich Gaspari, Albert Beckles, and Lee Haney, who then took his second Sandow statuette and was at his peak. The year 1986 was marked by 2 silver awards for the Iron Warrior at the World PRO Championship and the Los Angeles PRO Tournament. In both cases, Mike lost to Rich Gaspara. By the way, Rich and Mike were constantly competing with each other in the early and mid-'80s. In every tournament where the Dragon Slayer intersected, Gaspari constantly proved to be higher. So at Olympia 86, Christian hoped to beat Rich, but again he couldn't. Gaspari took the Olympia silver, Christian became the third, and Lee Haney won again. Among the features of Mike's training, I would like to highlight the following. Christian almost always trained with the guys who followed the same program as him. The training partners did everything together. However, during the competition period, only Mike outlined the training plan. It's interesting, Christian said, to train in a group, and time flies fast and has fun. In 1987, the Iron Warrior decides to try his luck in Europe. He was 5th at the French Grand Prix, and who do you think won then? That's right, his old rival is Rich Gaspari. The German Grand Prix was held twice in 1987. Mike finished 4th in the first and took the bronze medal in the second. At that time, Lee Haney and the equally ubiquitous Rich Gaspari, who were already tired of you for this issue, took the lead, without whom there is nowhere at all today. Robbie Robinson and Lee Labrada were also among the winners. The end of 1987, as usual, ended with the Olympia. This time the tournament came to Sweden. On October 31st, Mike Christian took to the stage in Gothenburg and showed his excellent form again, slightly failing to repeat his last year's achievement, finishing 4th. In 1988, our hero does not lose a single start. However, he performs in only 2 tournaments. First, he takes first place at the Pro World Championship and then at the U.S. Grand Prix. Both times, Brian Buchanan and Robbie Robinson took second and third place after Mike. In fact, due to his busy schedule, Christian couldn't even compete in the Mr. Olympia tournament that year. Then he solved the problems with setting up his business, producing super fashionable clothes. Things were going great, and they started making serious profits in the future. In short, a year later, the business was already established. Mike became more free and decided to recoup the last missed year. He travels around Europe, performing wherever possible. He visits 7 European countries and gets to the top everywhere. He is 6th in the Netherlands, 5th in Finland, and 4th in the UK. He takes silver in France and Sweden and triumphantly wins the Spanish and German Grand Prix. On September 9th, 1989, he arrived in Rome for his 4th Olympia. However, it shows its worst result, only the 6th place. In the top 5 of that tournament are Mohamed Benaziza, Rich Gaspari, Vince Taylor, Lee Labrada, and Lee Haney. You must admit that it's not a shame to give in to such rivals. Moreover, Samir Banout, Francis Benfato, Andreas Munzer, Bob Paris, and a dozen other top builders remained behind the Iron Warrior. Mike ended his career in the 90s at the age of 36. That year, Christian took silver at the Arnold Classic and 4th place at the Olympia, narrowly missing the top 3. And then he makes a statement that he is ending his speech for a very banal but very serious reason: addiction. In an interview that Christian gave to the famous journalist Jim Schmaltz, Mike admitted that he had been using alcohol for quite a long time. That's what he said then. At first I was afraid of injections, so when I started using pharmacology, it was pills. I took 4 to 5 pills a day. Then I won another tournament and decided to take it to the next level. This time, the course was already in the form of injections. Therefore, the first time, as soon as I got rid of the fear of the needle, I immediately injected myself in pharmaceuticals. What for? Because it is considered one of the most powerful restorative remedies. These are the revelations of the champion. It's good that our hero managed to understand in time that use is the way to nowhere and underwent a course of treatment. Of course, after that, Christian was no longer able to perform. He began to promote a healthy lifestyle, became more involved in business, wrote articles about proper nutrition and sports, and gave numerous interviews. Today, Mike is the owner of a sportswear company. Yes, Mike has never won the Olympia. It was the era of Lee Haney. However, many fans of iron sports and experts still consider him one of those athletes who remained underestimated. He has participated in more than 24 professional tournaments. He has always been one of the best at the 5 Olympia, not counting the smaller-scale competitions. Iron Warrior Mike Christian. He managed to overcome all the difficulties and, thanks to his perseverance, really become one of the strongest bodybuilders on the planet. For his contributions during his performances and active promotion of bodybuilding and a healthy lifestyle, Mike Christian's name was inducted into the IFBB Hall of Fame in 2005. As always, I will be grateful for your support. It helps in the development of the channel. Do not forget to click on the bell so as not to miss the new issue. Thanks for watching Sports Guru with you. See you later.